This is the Detroit Sports Podcast Network.
The biggest icon in podcasting.
Welcome in, everyone, to this week's edition of the DocNJock Wrestling Podcast. I'm your host, Adam the Jock Strozinski. On today's show, Tony Khan confirms another major injury. We have an update on a possible timeline from Kevin Owens for Kevin Owens, and a star was injured on Dynamite this week. We also have to take a look at what took place at Dynasty and where that leads us in AEW, as well as our road to WrestleMania, as we are about a week out from the granddaddy of them all. Helping me break it all down, sort it all out, he's the one. He's the only. He is the Doc, John Macaroon. What's up, cuz?
Adam, I'm pissed. I thought that Dynasty had the chance to be a really good pay-per-view, but when you end a show where the fans don't get what they want, I can understand it. You don't have to have the face win and win a title, but I get it. But when you have a major return happen and you have it play out like that, I think you disappointed your fan base. And I think that what's happening with AEW is pretty clear. It's a timing issue. When they decide to pull the trigger on title changes, nobody's happy. It's far too long. You don't satisfy your fan base. You don't do the things you need to do to excite your fans. And I just thought that the pay-per-view in and of itself, and we're going to recap it all on this episode, I thought the pay-per-view was solid. Real good work was done. But then it just goes from an A pay-per-view to a C+. When you end it, and we could start there, right there at the main event, Jon Moxley should have lost, should have took the pin to Swerve Strickland. And then to have creatively your vision is to have the Young Bucks return. You ruined a great pay-per-view. The fans were really, Swerve Strickland is the most over on Dynamite. They're chanting his name during promos. He is over. And I get the idea of screwing someone, the whole Daniel Bryan situation, but I think for AEW, where they're at in the ratings, nobody wants to see Moxley be the champion. It ruined the pay-per-view. I didn't like it. I put stars all over it. I said, this was terrible. It was such a good pay-per-view with so much potential. To have the Bucks return to ruin a match, I thought just ruined the pay-per-view, in my opinion.
Yeah, this is back-to-back pay-per-views where I think the main event, and we'll start with the main event, was specifically just overbooked. Like, there's just too much going on with it. You compare this to the last pay-per-view where you had the same exact thing, and now you compare it to this pay-per-view where you have the Young Bucks show up. And look, I'm going to read you what I got here in my notes. I've got so much happened in this match. I was like, the match saw a lot of chaos, which included involvement from Marina Shafir, Prince Nana. You had Moxley accidentally dropping Shafir in the match. Later in the match, Hangman Page shows up to the ring where he teases hitting a buckshot on either Swerve or Moxley. He was conflicted. Before he could nail the move, he was jumped by the rest of the Death Riders. Like, are you counting how many people are involved in this match right now? Then the Ops show up. Like, where did the Ops even come in with this, right? So now you got three more guys. The Ops show up. They chase off the Death Riders. Now then Swerve nails the Swerve stomp on Moxley with the referee laid out. So now you've got a ref bump mixed in there too. Before Swerve could make the cover, obviously the lights go out, the Young Bucks show up, and then they hit the EVP trigger, and then Moxley covers Swerve. Like, that was your match. Like, you ended up seeing, I'm going to count here live, right? 1, 2, 3, the Death Riders, 4, 5, 6, the Ops, 7, 8, 9. You know, and then you had both Matt and Nick Jackson. So you had 11 different people, not counting the two guys who were included in the match. 11 different other people played a part in this match. That's a problem. Like, that is a problem. This is something that you could have done on a Dynamite, and it would have got everybody talking. But you're doing it on a pay-per-view where you're supposed to – we've talked about this before – where you're supposed to kind of get finality, right? It's supposed to be the closing of one chapter of a book and the opening of another chapter of the book. And I get the opening of a chapter for bringing Matt and Nick back. I get that. That makes sense, okay? But you didn't really address anything else. Like, you just keep dumping sugar into the mix, and now your recipe is just way too sweet. There's just too much going on. And it's like, this is how it goes all the time with a lot of stuff with AEW. And look, not trying to shit on AEW. I think we play this very, very fair. We are fans of pro wrestling. We love pro wrestling. We want AEW to succeed. We want it to do well. The thing is, it's in this stretch and it's in this weird lull for the last couple of years where it's just kind of felt like misstep after misstep after misstep. And it's frustrating as a fan to watch these things because, again, you want them to do well.
Right, here's here's a novel idea. Just have Moxley beat Swerve clean. You could elevate John Moxley. It's too much chaos. It's too much going on. And here's the thing. I don't need that much chaos at 12:22 in the evening. You know what I mean? After you made me sit. The other note for this pay-per-view was fucking far too long, Tony. What the fuck? What the hell, man? I'm drinking coffee. I'm like, I'm going to power through this because this is crazy. But my notes were just like, what the fuck, Tony? This is too long. You're disrespecting people's time. I got shit to do. And you know what? It's crazy. That's how much I love professional wrestling is that I'm up at 12:30 on a Sunday and I got to be up at 6:55. I'm like, damn, man. Come on, dude, just wrap this shit up. And it's too much going on. And it's so bad cause that they do a high spot off a ladder and the crowd is just, it's into it, but it's not as impactful as if it was because there's so much shit going on. Let's go, man. Tighten your ship so that you can move this thing forward. Just a quick point, in Detroit, they came to LCA. Now they're doing Masonic Temple, which is like an 80% decrease in attendance. Why is that? That's not a good business model. You got to tighten the ship. And 5.5-hour pay-per-views is not going to attract the average fan. That's all we're saying. Adam and I are going to watch. We're going to talk about it. We're going to bitch and complain. But we're a small minority of the broader base of your business, and you got to grow it. And by doing shit like that, come on, man. Let's go. Tighten your ship, bro.
Yeah, pay-per-views are way too long. They're way too jam-packed. This is the other problem with the pay-per-views as a whole. There's so much going on, right? Like I think this was a 12-match card. You have so many matches crammed into this finite amount of time because even 5 hours is too long, right? Like really and truly, the perfect pay-per-view time is somewhere between 3 and 4 hours. Anything after that, it's just overkill. You don't need it. And you don't give your matches enough time to breathe in between what takes place in the match. Like if there's a big spot in the match, you don't give enough time to where it can resonate. And we had a moment like that. And you have the three-way for the AEW International Championship between Kenny and Ricochet and Speedball Mike Bailey. End of the match, Okada shows up. They have a stare down between Okada and Omega. So we're going to eventually, they're teasing, we're going to get Okada and Omega again really, really soon. And it's like they cut away from it, and then next thing you know, you're on to your next match. You're on to your main event. It's like, give it a little bit of time. Let it breathe. Let this just kind of go. Like, let's let the announcers really kind of highlight and compel what is taking place in the history between these two men because it is so lengthy. That is something that is incredibly important. What they've done in the past in New Japan is incredibly important to what they're doing right now here in AEW. And you don't have enough time to really highlight these things. You don't have enough time to really let that stuff breathe because you're moving from match to match to match. Let's just really quickly cover what took place on this pay-per-view. Again, a lot of matches. This was a very in-depth card.
Now, real fast, we're going to go through it. Yeah. But I want to ask you, are you good at math?
I mean, sometimes.
Okay. Let's say this. If Tony Khan were to take stock into what critics are saying, let's say AEW has 500,000 loyal diehard fans who like this shit, who just love them, go online, the IWC that are just like AEW for life. If you lost all of them but gained 2 million new fans, what's that net? Is that a net of 1.5 million fans? So look, I know that Tony plays to the diehards, and it's novel, it's lovely, it's idealistic. But Tony, come on, bro. You can appeal to the masses if you tighten your ship and do some things a little bit better. You can gain sky's the limit, bro. You ever hear that phrase? 2, 3, 4, 5 million. Like someone's got to say, bro, look, you might lose 100,000 of our loyal 500,000, but we're going to gain 4, 5, 6 million new fans that are going to pay and scream and come. Like, come on, dude. Do the math and stop playing to the small little fan base that you've cultivated and stop being a mark. You got to be able to take this to the next level and grow. Like, yes, you don't have to be the backyard ECW anymore. Like, we're in 2025. You can do some things that you don't have to be WWE, but you can do things that are a little bit more friendly to the broader audience, man. Let's go.
The thing about it too is they are cemented as the number 2 company, right? And they have a very nice chunk of change coming in. There's so much more that they can do, and they're on multiple networks. It's not like they're just on one platform. They're on multiple platforms where you can see their stuff. So they've got a very good TV deal. It's not like back in the day with ECW was on channel 38 and you had to stay up till 1 a.m. to watch it. So this is a team that has good distribution. This is a team, or this is a wrestling company that has good distribution. A wrestling company that has good programming. They have a very nice time slot. They are on multiple different platforms. They do know how to utilize the internet and utilize YouTube. You're right. You could kind of pare down some of this being so smart with everything that you do and give yourself a little bit more leeway, give yourself a little bit more runway by playing to a broader audience. And I think initially that was the one thing that made AEW very, very interesting. Is they had no problem referencing WWE. They had no problem, highlighting what other people did in other companies. That wasn't an issue for them. They had no problem bringing up New Japan, no problem bringing up TNA, no problem bringing up WWE, no problem bringing up Evolve, or any of the other indie scenes. They had no problems doing that. Well, here's the thing: the landscape has changed. WWE was sitting back taking notes. They're like, "Oh, fans don't care. Fans are smart. Let's do that too." WWE now does that as well. So what once made you different no longer makes you different. So you have to evolve a little bit. You have to grow. You have to figure out a new way. And by preaching your stuff to the same 6 or 7 people, it's great. But it's not going to get you where you want to be. It's not going to get you any bigger.
Exactly. And the idea is that you are limitless in regards to how much money you can make. Like WWE is raising the price still on events where every single event is a record breaker. Well, that's not because they have more fans. It's because they're just charging more money. So that's a simple formula. Yep. So when you downsize, it's just really a situation, and I get it. Like, you can be happy making $3 million profit every year, or you can be happy showing on your profit and loss sheet that you lost $10 million to offset costs of another company. I get it, but at the same token, why not, if you're in it for a business purpose as well, why not maximize what you're doing? And I just think that it's better overall. And just speaking to the match, I thought Kenny Omega's match was great. I thought that it was cool to see Okada run out there, but yeah, you're exactly right, too rushed. And I'm from that semi-main event match, I just was excited to see what what Speedball and Ricochet can continue to do. They held their own in the match with a great in a Kenny Omega.
Absolutely. All right. Real quick, we'll run through some of these. We'll talk about a couple of the other ones. I feel like we really have highlighted the last 2 matches of this card. But jumping into the 0 hour, we had a trios match. Nick Wayne and Crew defeated AR Fox and Top Flight. They won by pinfall. We then had an open challenge by Matt Caster, where you had Anthony Bowen's return and answer it. Anthony Bowen's new music, new gear, looks great. It'll be interesting to see how he gets pushed and where he goes as a singles competitor. Obviously, incredibly over with the fans. We then jump into the main event, where you had your men's Owen Hart Cup tournament qualifying match with Will Ospreay defeating Kevin Knight by pinfall. I think the one thing you can say about this, Kevin Knight looks like he's going to be a star. He lost, but he still looked absolutely amazing. Him and Will Ospreay put on a fantastic show. AEW World Tag Team Championship match. Hurt Syndicate ends up defeating the Learning Tree by pinfall to retain their titles. Now, there was a little bit of help from MJF on the outside of the ring. This led to a confrontation on Dynamite, where MJF expected to be welcomed into the Hurt Syndicate. He got a thumbs down from Shelton Benjamin, and Bobby Lashley obviously does not want anything to do with him. That led to a backstage conversation between him and MVP, where MVP was like, you got to figure out what these guys want if you want to be a part of this team. And so now it's going to be MJF's journey to try to figure out what he can do to persuade Shelton Benjamin and Bobby Lashley into letting him into the Hurt Syndicate. We then had our women's Owen Hart Cup tournament qualifying match. You had Mercedes Moné defeating Julia Hart by pinfall. Match was a little bit wonky in parts of it, but overall I thought it was a pretty good match. Obviously, Mercedes Moné wins. I don't see her losing anytime soon, so it's what it is. This match had everybody talking. This was something that we talked about, and then I allowed you to talk me out of what I was thinking, and I ended up riding with you on this one. I should have stuck with my gut, and I was so mad when I seen all this unfolding in front of me. Your AEW World Trios Championship match, the Death Riders, Claudio Castagnoli, Pac, and Wheeler Yuta, ended up defeating Rated FTR. So Cope, Cash Wheeler, and Dax, at the end of the match, they're in the ring. They kind of hug it out. Next thing you know, you've got Dax hitting Cope with a pile driver, lays him out, goes and gets 2 chairs, gives one to Cash. He's like, here, hit him with the concerto. Cash says no. Next thing you know, they get him up in a shatter machine and they hit him. They make fun of his neck. They end up turning on Cope, and FTR turns heel. When it's all said and done, thought it was a lot of fun. I'm going to be interested to see where FTR goes. I think we write Cope off screen for a little bit, and I'm cool with that as well. What did you think of FTR turning heel on Adam Copeland?
Yeah, good move. I think that it was kind of predicted, but again, you know that it's going down that road. You could have did it at a bigger moment. And isn't it bigger when you have the titles to then have some dissension or to have some way where it's a grander stage, or when they lose the title because Cope is so happy to be the champion. You build the bond. I'm so happy riding with you guys. You got vignettes of them traveling on the road, the bond that they develop. It's just, again, a great idea, rushed. I feel like when everybody predicts it and then you execute it, it might have been worth it to delay it a little bit. Let FTR win a little bit. Let them have a reason to build the bond and build the trust, win some matches, and then some dissension. It doesn't even have to be in the ring. It could just be Cope, making some decisions business-wise, or who they face, putting FTR in peril, giving opportunities, doing some things to upset the group, and then boom, you deliver it at the biggest event. I think in overseas would have been cool in a crowd that would have went apeshit when the turn would have happened. But it's fine. It's interesting, and it's a good story, and it's one of those deals where I guess Cope has a problem being friends with groups. They just keep turning on him. So it's going to be interesting to see how it plays out. But again, I would have liked to have seen just both right away from the jump. It just seemed like there was a little bit of a delay in the full execution of the turn. But hey, all in all, it was good. And Death Riders remain the champions, and we'll see who's worthy of getting the trios titles in the future.
Yeah, so I think with this, right, and I think the one thing that I think you and I are both saying regarding AEW specifically is there seems to be a problem with them controlling the gas pedal. There are times to let things breathe and times to take your foot off the gas and just kind of coast, and there are times to punch the gas and make a turn and change stuff and do things quickly. With AEW, it seems like they, in our estimation, they have those things confused sometimes, and it leads to a little bit of a disjointed story. Now, with this, the way I see this playing out, remember, there's another guy that Adam Copeland used to team with who's having some problems with his own group. Maybe those guys come together and you get your new version of Edge and Christian taking on FTR. That might be where we're headed when Copeland comes back. So we'll see what takes place. Just something to put a pin in and then kind of keep an eye on. We then had a singles match for our AEW Women's World Championship. Timeless Toni Storm ends up defeating Megan Bayne by pinfall. I thought this match did a real nice job of making Bayne look incredibly strong. Toni Storm threw everything at her. Bayne kicked out of everything. The way this match ends in a roll up. I think even in the loss, Bayne still looks super strong. What did you think about the way that Megan Bayne was portrayed in this match? Because we're going to talk about Megan Bayne in a little bit here. Yeah, she's got it. She's got the it factor. I think she can wrestle. It's great. It's good to see a new star come in, and you want to see what she's all about. And I thought that the feud, even though it ends up in a loss, is going to be beneficial to her career. Toni Storm after the match was a little bit vulgar, but it was funny as all hell. So look, she's a great champion. She's worthy. And she can, and part of it being a champion is when you're in the ring with other stars that you can make them look as good as you do. And Toni Storm can do that with almost anybody. So kudos. I thought maybe this was probably one of the more enjoyable segments and matches on the card. Yeah, I thought it was done very, very well. And like I said, I think they both come out looking very good. Tony Storm as your champion, still a babyface, but looks a little bit shaken. Megan Bayne in a loss looks like she is King Kong Bundy. Like she is just on top of the world. And ain't nobody got nothing on her. So our next match, the Men's Own Heart Cup tournament qualifying match. You have Kyle Fletcher defeating Mark Briscoe by pinfall. We then have our mask versus singles match for the ROH World Championship. In the end, Bandito defeats Chris Jericho by pinfall to win the title. We then have...
Oh, wait. Because this determined the card here. I have a bunch of notes on this match. What the hell, bro? I was excited. Jericho won. And then all of a sudden... since when does a family member get to just wave their hands like a crazy person and Bandito's family fucked me? I am not happy with the result of the way this went down. Look, just do it clean. Like, literally, I'm not biased here that I had this match predicted in the favor of Chris Jericho. There is no bias here. But in the end, Chris Jericho won the match legitimately by all rules based on officiating that he got the win. But all of a sudden... people from the crowd are going, no, and causing a stir. And then the official said, okay, I'm just going to restart the match. In no undue circumstances is this allowed. In no two terms is this acceptable for an outcome. When this was pitched, whoever dumbass pitched this way of finishing the match, it would have just been better if Bandito won. The family does not get to overturn matches. In the history of this podcast, there has been no family member that got the attention of the official and then made the match change as a result. So now you got to look at it from my perspective where I'm like, okay, good. Chris Jericho wins. This is smart. And I get it, I guess. You know, maybe someone else on this podcast had inside info about maybe Jericho leaving to go twiddle his guitar thumbs. But whatever. I don't care. And here's the thing, too. Ring of Honor was built on credible storytelling, credible outcomes with top-notch officiating, respect for the rules. All hell just went out the window. Tony Khan was just like, I don't care about the premise of Ring of Honor. That's been around for decades. I do not agree with how this match went. Unbiasedly, I felt like it could have been done in so much of a better way. But if I was going to lose in a manner that predicted my fate and sealed my fate in this competition, I would not have liked to have seen my guy win. Then all of a sudden, family members just talking to official are able to dictate what is going to happen as a rule. So Ring of Honor has now jumped the shark officially because of Tony Khan. Carry on.
You remember how we talked about things just being a little bit overdone and a little bit too complicated and too complex? This match itself was the highlight of it. Like, I didn't understand his mom and his sister getting involved. I know they've been part of this story, which, again, is another thing. But to have a match won and then have the mom and sister get the match restarted, it was weird. It was weird. But it helped me get a win, so I'll take it. Next, we had a singles match for the AEW TNT Championship. Surprising to both of us, I think. Adam Cole ends up defeating Daniel Garcia by pinfall to win the title. On Dynamite, Roderick Strong and Kyle O'Reilly and Adam Cole put together the Paragon. They bring that back. There is some copyright that was filed for the Paragon. So I don't know if they're still all going to be part of the United Kingdom. That's going to be a subgroup inside the United Kingdom. I have no idea what's going on with Mike Bennett and Matt Taven. But you've got Adam Cole now leading the charge with those three guys. And then you've got the other two guys, I think, on the periphery. So we'll see what takes place there. And then we had our three-way match where Kenny Omega ends up defeating Ricochet and Speedball Mike Bailey. We already talked about Okada coming out. We felt like it was a little bit rushed between Okada and Omega. And then we wrapped it up with what we started it with, which was Jon Moxley retaining over Swerve Strickland with a little bit of help from the Young Bucks. When we take a look at the card, I got the Bandito pick right. I extend my lead to 6, 18-12. I believe that's going to do it for this year for calling the card. Next week, we will wipe the slate clean. Easy for me to say, and we will start the new season with WrestleMania, with the 2-night event, which looks like it's going to be absolutely fantastic.
Congrats to Adam. Look, it's fun how we've been doing this in that none of us have been able to get out to a big lead. We just go back and forth every year, which has really been fun. The good thing is that we reset. This was a bad year for my predictions, but in due time, I will rise from the ashes to predict much better. Kind of like maybe Chris Jericho, when he rises from the ashes from his guitar playing ways, he will return and lead the AEW revolution for all of their 4,999 fans, because I'm about to hop off the hardcore fan bandwagon and just be a casual, as they say, because of the outcomes of these pay-per-views that they've had. I think they would have 5,700 fans if they would just follow a certain style of matches where you have a winner clean, you have more faces win, and you don't have 50 people show up in the ring to try and impact everybody. So it's going to be one of those deals where this next year will be better, and the DOC will rise from the ashes to predict on a higher level. Let's go. But I would say this, Dynasty led into Dynamite, and I know that typically the shows after tend to lead to some more involvement. I thought that Dynamite had a nice flow to it, but it was unfortunate that it was marred by a big injury.
Yeah, absolutely. And before we start kind of breaking some stuff down, you brought up Chris Jericho. Chris Jericho had a big spot on Dynamite. I wanted to get your thoughts on Chris Jericho, basically saying he needs to take some time off. He kind of went ballistic, beat up his learning tree set. You had Big Bill stand up to him and say, look, you're not going to berate me. You're not going to break us down. We went out and we did our job. Yes, we lost, but we went out. We tried hard. We tried to do what we could do. You didn't win either. And he just kind of snapped. He ended up taking a baseball bat and saying he was disappointed in the guys and beating up one of the televisions. And it seemed like he came unhinged. If you follow Chris Jericho on any of his socials, he also has basically laid to rest the Nuevo as he is moving on to a new character invention for himself. I'm excited for what that could be. Hopefully it's a little bit better than what we've been getting. I don't know if when it's all said and done, what you're going to see and what you're going to get, because it does kind of feel like Chris Jericho has the ability to suck wrestlers into whatever his persona is, and it just sometimes they get locked in there and you can't move and elevate storylines, and sometimes guys don't necessarily feel like they get elevated, even though when you kind of go back and you look through the annals of history, guys have been moved up cards. It's whether or not they take advantage of that or not, it's on them. But what do you think about the Chris Jericho segment, and what do you think about Chris Jericho reinventing himself again?
Yeah, it'll be good to see how maybe a match with Big Bill will play out. Look, it's true. I think that Chris Jericho has had a run. It's time to kind of come back and re-cement what he's about and reinvent himself. And I do think a break from what he's been doing will be fine. It won't hurt things, and I do think that the fans kind of got tired of him too. So maybe a new and improved Chris Jericho will help the cause all the way around.
It'll be fun to see what he comes back as. The guy does a great job of continuously finding things to become talkable about, and plays an important part in AEW. So we'll see what takes place in the future here for Chris Jericho. Now, I think that the Swerve and Hangman Page relationship is the best thing in AEW right now. You talked about it earlier. You said Swerve is the most over guy. I think Swerve is the most over guy. I think him with Hangman Page is absolutely bananas. I think it is so interesting. They've done. This is one of those storylines that you look at and you're like, you've done a good job building this out. The fact that Hangman Page can't let go of what Swerve and Prince Nana did is fantastic. The fact that Hangman Page seems conflicted about how he feels about Swerve is fantastic. The fact that Swerve, recognizing he's done wrong, has apologized and now is on this crusade to try to make things right, I think is fantastic. And it's sucking everybody in, because it's not just the Swerve and Hangman storyline that you have. You are now bringing in guys like Kenny Omega and the Young Bucks and Okada. They're getting pulled into this as well. The Young Bucks end up coming out. They said, hey, we did this for Hangman. That was the whole reason we did this. We said, Hangman, we know that you don't like Swerve and you don't want him to win. So what we did to Swerve at Dynasty was for you. And then Kenny Omega comes out, cuts a promo, and basically was like, yeah, last time we met, you guys threw me off a gurney when I was incredibly sick. So I'm just going to come in the ring and we're just going to fight. And then you have Okada come out. Next thing you know, Swerve slides into the ring with a chair and he's ready to mess some people up. So it is, to me, this is one of the more captivating stories, and it centers around Swerve and Hangman. And like I said, if you were to look at this like it was like a circled diagram, or if you were to look at this like it was almost like an onion, right? At the very, very core, the largest part is Swerve and Hangman. And then you kind of go out a layer. And then it's Kenny and the Bucks, and it's Kenny, and then it's Okada. And I think what we might get, and I want to get your take on what you think about this. We're going to have some more development between Hangman and Swerve for this, but I think we might, and I was hoping I was yelling this at the TV, we'll get Swerve, Hangman, and Kenny taking on the Bucks and Okada. Would you want to see that match? And what do you think about the Swerve-Hangman relationship?
Yeah, look, Swerve is over. I do like the idea of, okay, fine, the EVPs are invoking their will and their power, and they're friends with Hangman Page, and they want to invoke loyalty and bring back a tie a little bit. And I understand that. I understand the idea of superpowers uniting. It's fine. It's a reason. Am I a fan of? Is it the best reason? No. I think the Young Bucks on their own are pretty good. Like, they're always involved in like this group shit. Like, what's the deal? Like, the Young Bucks themselves, I think, could be the most over tag team in the world. But they're always involved in the trios. They're always involved in stuff with Kenny Omega. There's stuff with Hangman. They're always trying to get into this trio stuff. Like, look, just go on and make the tag team relevant, like super relevant. Be the champions, and they're constantly coming and going. It's okay. It's an okay idea, but I'm more of the opinion that they're kind of underplaying what they really are as a team. And they haven't even taken themselves to the highest level, which is weird because the best way to put it is they're the Cody Rhodes of the company that they're running, which is weird. Like, you're allowed to be over. You're popular. You're the Young Bucks. You can do matches, but now you need to evolve. Like, you need to kind of tell some stories and finish stories and not have these 6-week lulls every 2 months. Like, come on. And I just think that the best way to put it in the notes here is I feel like the Young Bucks are underutilized in their own company, which is weird. Yeah,
it does have that feeling where they kind of get to do their own thing, right? You know, it's to me, it feels like these guys should be higher, right? But you also remember they're just coming back from some time off.
How much time off do you need? I mean, you've been suspended, injured. Like, they're on the Adam Cole. They're on the Adam Cole plan, which is like, come on, let's give us a. I mean, come on.
No, man, I think you make a lot of valid points here. It does feel like these two guys specifically, could be at the very tippy top if they wanted to. Again, I think there might be a role for them with what they do, where they do have to try to elevate other people, right? But the problem is, I don't think they do a great job of necessarily doing that. Yes, they have some fantastic matches, but they're great in-ring workers. So I don't think they do a really good job of trying to help move people up the card. And the thing is, you look at what is going on and what they've come out and what they said at Dynamite. They wanted to team with Jon Moxley. They're like, hey, you did something we couldn't ever do. We couldn't get the world championship. Imagine what we could do together. Jon Moxley already consumes, it's a 2-hour program. Jon Moxley already consumes probably 40 minutes of the 2 hours, whether it be with a backstage vignette, whether it be with other guys from the Death Riders, or whether it be a Jon Moxley match that's taking place. Jon Moxley consumes so much of the programming. You then have the Bucks wanting to come out. It's like, do you just want to have a Bucks and Hangman or a Bucks and Death Rider show? Because that's kind of what it feels like they were pushing for, and we don't need that. But more to what I'm thinking and what I'm seeing here, right? Bucks and Okada, they're finally back. We're gonna need to get some type of resolution between Okada and the Bucks on why the Bucks just rolled out on Okada. We're going to have to talk about that. That has to get cleared up. Let's not forget about that. So we need to get that fixed. And then, yes, Kenny Omega has a vendetta against these three men. So that's going to be fun to see. Now Swerve has a vendetta against the Bucks. The loose herring in all this is, what does Hangman Page think and where's he at? And again, I think that could be a very interesting story if you do things right. Now, all these guys in this story don't need to be elevated. All these guys in this story, Swerve is obviously at the very, very tippy top. Hangman is a main event guy. Kenny Omega, main event guy. Bucks are a main event tag team, and you haven't seen it from Okada, but he is also a main event guy. You haven't seen it since he's come to AEW. To me, it feels like he's a bit on cruise control, like he is on vacation since he signed that contract with them. But I don't know. I do want to see where this goes. This is the one thing I took out of this Dynamite episode that has me excited. The rest of this Dynamite episode, I was kind of like, okay, it's okay. But Swerve and Hangman have me sucked in, and they've had me sucked in since Swerve was cutting promos on babies, even before that. And then you have Hangman burning houses down. Even before that, I was sucked in. So I want to see where this goes. And I think if you look at it, Hangman Page was a guy that they wanted to put the title on initially. You remember, it was Hangman versus Chris Jericho for the initial AEW championship. And they wanted to put the title on Hangman, but he just wasn't ready. He just wasn't ready yet. I feel like this guy is so overripe right now. I feel like he is so ready to go. And I think kind of watching him grow over the last, 5-6 years has been absolutely amazing. I remember watching Hangman when he was a skinny dude in ROH. And I think he's come a long way, and I think that is fantastic to see. So I'm excited to see what happens with Swerve and Hangman. The rest of it, I'm there. I'm along for the ride. We'll see what takes place with the Bucks and Okada and Kenny. I think Kenny and Okada could be good, but like I said, Okada's been on cruise control since he's been in AEW, and he's been very underwhelming in my estimation. I do have some concerns with somebody we talked about earlier. And I'm wondering if you have concerns too. So Megan Bayne, we both agree she's got a fantastic look. Like, she looks amazing. I think she can move in the ring. I think she wrestles really, really well. The thing I didn't realize until it happened was she hasn't cut a promo, and they have Penelope Ford doing most of her talking. This week in a backstage segment, they had Megan Bayne cut Penelope Ford off, and she basically said like 6 words. And after she got done cutting her promo, I was kind of like, oh, okay, maybe this is why they have Penelope Ford cutting your promo. And I don't know if I want Penelope Ford cutting your promo. What do you think about how they're not having Megan Bayne cut promos and more or less using Penelope Ford in a managerial bumping sort of way, as she doesn't mind wrestling, but she's also kind of the voice piece for Megan Bayne? Any concerns with any of that?
Yeah, it's one of those deals where I understand maybe if they don't feel like she can handle it to the fullest degree, but you can't get fully over until you can talk into the microphone and get people to buy in. Now, if you're going to go down that road, then she's got to do even a better job of representing what Megan Bayne's going to be about. So that's what it's got to be, is if you're going to be a manager, you got to hype it up to the point where I want to buy a ticket to see her. Now, she's got the initial it factor. Okay, that's step one. She can wrestle matches and close out storylines, which is good. That's step 2. Now the final piece, which is usually the most important piece for performers, is to get confident in front of the microphone and speak and be able to dominate and get people to care. And that's the final step, and it's going to be fun to see what she's about. But I do think that you need the other 2 pieces first. And then there's been a lot of characters that have taken time to develop on the microphone, but once they were able to, then boom, you were able to see what they were about. So it takes time. It's not easy, so get in those promo classes if they have them at AEW, because it's one of those deals where that's where you can make some significant headway for your company and yourself, is if you're able to get on the microphone and get people to care and sustain attention when you're talking. So let's see what happens.
So don't be worried is what you're telling me.
Don't be worried. Don't be worried.
All right. Anything else from Dynamite that stuck out to you, or anything from AEW that has stuck out to you?
I'm liking the direction of some of the mid-card guys. They're doing the things that we like. I'm not a fan of the Paragon name that the Adam Cole changed the group name to. It's like, okay, I just would have liked to have them stick to where they've been at, but it kind of always feels like they're twisting and turning far too soon, like you said. And I felt like Adam Cole changing the name of the group is weird, but I get it. It's good to see him get a title run after all this time, so I'm curious to see where it goes moving forward. Kyle O'Reilly, Will Ospreay, Okada, all the guys that we said need to take a step up. They've done that. They've gotten some attention. And like you've said, the new stars that are coming in are earning their opportunities. And Ricochet, I think, deserves some highlights for the work that he's been doing. And I do think that he's been putting in the work to try to get himself over as a heel. And now he's got to take the next step. When you've been given the baton, you got to make sure that you don't fumble it, even though you've had a good first lap. Now the second lap has to be as good, has to be just as good as what you've now done to get yourself over.
All right, we are through Dynasty. We are on our way to All In Texas. We'll see where this goes. I think we get some more interesting builds with Swerve and with Hangman. With all that being said, we are a week out from WrestleMania. Two-night event taking place next Saturday. Look, Jey Uso interrupts Gunther, cuts it in passion promo, basically told him, look, I had to look my mom in the eye and tell her I couldn't help my brother because I was scared. And he basically says you're going to get a more serious, a more lethal version of Jey at WrestleMania. Do you think we get a character shift from Jey Uso, or is this just maybe for this match? Is he still going to be the fun yeeting guy that comes down through the crowd and dances in the ring and gets winded before he can cut a promo because he's been yeeting for 10, 15 minutes? Or is this going to be a guy who, like on Monday Night Raw, dressed in all black, lip curling, didn't eat once and didn't want the crowd to eat, just wanted to go in there and just was ready to break Gunther? I don't think you necessarily got that anger across that he felt like he was brimming with, but that was what they were trying to convey. So I'm just curious if we see a little bit of a different version of Jey Uso moving forward.
Yeah, see, I'm going to pull a little bit of a Tony Khan myself here, as we've said his name so much. As that promo was going on, I just kept saying to myself, you know what? I could see Jey Uso being a world champion, but not now. I like Gunther. I like Gunther holding that badass role. And I kept telling myself, why do you like Gunther? Like, he's just been there. I think that you need to cement a world champion. And everybody believes that Jey Uso is going to win. So do you piss off the WWE universe? Because everybody's thinking psychologically that, well, listen, I would just have it where Gunther dominates and Jay's getting closer. The brother comes to help. The family's there, but Gunther survives and has an opportunity to win and get over. I like Gunther being the mega champion because then when Jey Uso does take it, I think Jey Uso should be the guy to take it, maybe at SummerSlam or Survivor Series, or look, you did it to Cody. I think that there's a value in maybe just building the intensity with Jey Uso, but it kind of has the feel of a payoff, a long-term payoff of Jay's career. But I like the idea of elevating Gunther. I think he looks like a champion, and I like the way that he kind of now started to have some doubt, which also puts some doubt into could he win. But it's good. I just think that at the same token, there is value in keeping the champion, not like Jon Moxley because he's already been a champion, but this is Gunther's first real run with the World Heavyweight title, and I'm not so sure I want to see it end.
Here's the thing. Do you realize that Gunther has been a champion in WWE for, I think it's about 75 to 85% of his time?
Yeah, he should be.
Whether
He's
it's
got
in
the look,
NXT or whether it's on the main roster. It's absolutely crazy.
Right.
In other Gunther news, late in, I think it was 2024, he re-signed a new contract, so he's not going anywhere for a while. He also was able to get himself his own
tour bus
and his own his own locker room. So interesting. Look, I get what you're saying, but I feel like you have the ability because of all of that, with Gunther being a champion for 75 to 85% of his time in WWE, I feel like if you have Jay beat him, I think you help elevate Jay. And I think that might be the direction that you go because you now have two stars. Gunther can take the loss, and then Gunther can chase Jay and Obviously, not right away get the belt back because we don't like that. But you can have Gunther go and get that belt back at a different point. I think it's a way to help build up another star. That's my only thoughts. What did you think of Braun Breaker's spear? You sent me and Kenny a message of a different angle of the spear. When you watch it real time, it was kind of amazing. It felt like Carlito got split right in half. You have Braun Breaker basically running down the ramp and hits Carlito dead set in the midsection. And Carlito, feet and hands and like fingertips touch toes. That's how he got bent up. And he goes flying, and Braun Breaker just kind of hits the ground and just kind of rolls and pops up. Like
right.
Freak athleticism, man.
Right now, so the best way to put it succinctly, Braun Breaker has now entered the spear Mount Rushmore with Goldberg, Edge, and Roman Reigns. Now you get the Braun Breaker face right there in the Mount Rushmore of spears.
All right, I like it. What do you think about this Intercontinental Fatal 4-Way match, right? So next week we're going to have an Intercontinental Fatal 4-Way. Generally, we don't like multi-man matches, but does this match have the ability to steal the show at WrestleMania? You've got a freak like Braun Breaker. You've got a ring general like Finn Balor, who's been there, done that. Maybe we get the Demon. Maybe we don't. I don't know. You've got Dominic Mysterio, who I think has come a long way, and I think does a pretty good job in the ring. And then you've got a guy who is a complete wild card and is a fan favorite in Penta. This match, to me, feels like it has all of the right ingredients to really blow the roof off of WrestleMania if they give them enough time. But these guys need time to work and build this match. Do you think this has the ability to steal the show, or is this just going to be one of those matches that's just kind of on the card?
No, it's going to steal the show. I do think that I do not want Penta to win. I think that this is the purpose of this match has to serve two things. Elevate Braun Breaker to the moon even more, and to I think, clearly I don't think Dominic is on the level of Penta. I think you got to establish a feud with Penta and Finn Balor. Like, they got to cost each other. They got to get into it. They got to, get pissed off. Penta's for real, but he's got to get into a story. And I don't think him getting pushed right to the moon makes any sense. Like, you got to have some struggle. You got to have, get close, and then Finn Balor costs him the title and costs him the big opportunity. And I do think that Braun Breaker is going to get over. It's easy to play out, but it does feel like that these four characters can get their shit over. It's going to be chaotic, but there's going to be some opportunities for some spots that are going to get people out of their seats. So I'm excited to see it. Penta, new era at WrestleMania. You can't beat it. And I would hope the Demon's there, but at the same token, Finn Balor's done a good job of utilizing what he's been given to get himself over and getting some wins as of late to make him more respectable. So you wish you would have been on a bigger platform, but a 4-way for the IC belt, you could do worse.
I've got some ideas for this match. We'll talk about it next week. But I could see a whole lot happening in this match that has a lot of carryover to different parts of each one of these wrestlers and storylines that they've got going on. We'll save it for next week when we do our review of WrestleMania, which is shaping up to be a fantastic show. The thing that I think kind of blew me away a little bit was the Seth Rollins, Paul Heyman back and forth. Seth used Paul Heyman to provoke CM Punk, slapping him in the face, pulling his pocket square out of his pocket and throwing it in his face, backing him into a corner and kind of face mushing him, all to get CM Punk to come down to the ring. And he ends up laying CM Punk out with a stomp. And then he feigns doing a stomp to pay Paul Heyman, picks up a microphone, and then tells him he is now owed a favor. Paul Heyman at this point owes everybody a favor. What did you think of this? Do you like that Seth is now calling for a favor because he didn't stomp Paul Heyman? Or do you think this was just something to kind of fill a little bit of time and kind of get the hatred between CM Punk and Seth Rollins and kind of get Seth Rollins kind of more looped into that Paul Heyman CM Punk vortex?
Yeah, I didn't like it as much. I like the idea of, elevating what Seth Rollins could do with Paul Heyman. I understood the reasoning, but you owe me a favor. I get it. It's just like one of those deals where Seth Rollins has to now interject himself with Paul Heyman to add more layers to the story. But I might have gone in a different direction with it. It's just Seth Rollins could have just beat the shit out of Paul Heyman and just been like, you literally are backing the two guys that are going to end your career, and I'll just make the decision easier and just whoop his ass, And I think that Seth Rollins has this bipolar nature that can be definitely played upon. That would be just, one of those deals where, I look, the idea of bringing back CM Punk and Seth Rollins keeps saying, hey, he tried to ruin your career. It's like, yeah, we get it. We get that whole backstory and the reasoning, but I think they got to bring it forward, which is, hey, I'm the man of the future, and I feel like I'm disrespected by the fact that, Paul, you never once looked my way. Simple as that. Personal. Make it personal. Stop making it about somebody else. And I think for Seth Rollins, it's always about somebody else. It's always about Roman Reigns and the Shield and getting back together and running the crew. And with CM Punk, it's always about, I hate you and what you did. It should just be more about, hey, it's about me. I'm the best in the world, and everybody keeps saying that they run this business. When I stand here and you all look at me and chant my name longer than anybody, and you'll be doing it longer than these two old guys, and when they decide to show up here, Paul, I'm really surprised that you've never looked my way. And then just whoop his ass. And you say you're going to pay for that mistake in this ring. And you could set it for the future. Like, you know what? I'm pissed. I'm pissed off that, I think about it now. You've always been with top guys that are here, guys that are sitting at home, beasts. You could bring up Brock in some different way. And you say, hey, but you never looked my way. You never look toward the true ring general, the true guy that runs the ship here in WWE, the guy that will be talked about for decades after I'm out of this ring. And then you just beat the shit out of Paul Heyman through the table, and you say, if you don't respect me, I'm going to take the respect. And then you give more belief, because right now, in my opinion, if you power rank this, it's CM Punk, Roman Reigns, CM Punk, and then Seth Rollins. You got to do a little bit more above and beyond to get people to believe that Seth is going to win it. And maybe there might be some advantages to having him win it. And maybe that'd be great as a complete swerve is Paul Heyman ends up with somebody different, which would really add some spice if Paul Heyman was like, you know what, I figured out who the real future is, and it ain't you two old dudes. And it'd be fun. You could extend it out for a lot of different ways. But right now, going into it, another favor, man. These favors that they're stuck on these favors. Okay, man. Everybody gets a favor. Everybody gets a favor. Everybody gets a favor on night one of WrestleMania.
And what might be a panic pivot move, we're probably going to get Randy Orton solo Sikoa.
Yeah. I didn't like
this
that.
This was a match I never realized that I didn't need until it was right for me.
Right.
I was kind of like, this is the direction. This is where we're going. I was hoping for Nick Aldis versus Randy Orton, to be honest with you.
Bro, I was hoping for unnamed opponent. You could have got Rusev. You could have got the other guy, name slip in my mind, that's coming back. You realize that you could have just had a big return. And Nick Aldis teasing as well would have been great, but I don't think he's cleared to wrestle, and I don't think that he's been at the level where you could just show up at your first match WWE at WrestleMania.
That dude looks like he's in great shape.
No, I just think that you look at it and you say, man, it would have been an opportunity for Rusev to get over as well, or anyone else as a new debut, but it's fine. It was a good segment. I like that they played into LA Knight. There's a tie there.
Aleister Black.
Exactly, Aleister Black sort of thing up. Exactly. So it would have been cool, but at the same token, Solo Sikoa, we'll see how it plays out, but it's kind of like, well, they need a match, so let's do it. And that's how it's going to be. And we'll talk about that. It does feel like, the matches were set. They're decent. They all have a meaning and a purpose. But the interest level, you could tell by some of them. Some of them are going to go 8 minutes. Some of them are going to go 20. And I just hope that Randy Orton wins in 8 minutes in that match.
Yeah.
8 minutes. We're going to rate it by 8 or 20. And that's going to be our game, 8 or 20. And that was going to go, hopefully, 8 minutes and keep it moving.
I was surprised that was the direction that we were going.
Right,
I was
me too.
Oh man, yeah. I was like, I never knew I didn't want to see this match so bad.
And you didn't need. I know you need to set up SmackDown. You could have did it a lot more. I know you needed to set up the tag and all that, but it would have just been great if Nick Aldis just slapped Randy Orton and said, "Keep your hands off me," and intro it.
Bro, he brought up Mickey James.
Yeah, exactly. Like you say, hey, if you remember who I am. I've been a champion in this world. If you keep messing with me, your life is going to be miserable. And then just keep it moving. Like get to the next thing. But they had this long drawn out thing. It was funny to see Randy yap at Solo and Tamatonga. So that's cool. And it sets up the main event, which is fine. I get it. You got to layer it out with this kind of show. It's fine, but that's more typical. And they could have went different as well. They could have gave the fans a little bit more of a tease with what they want because they want Nick Aldis. It would have been cool to see. Like you've seen it bubbling to the surface, but then it got brought back down.
Anything else from WWE that really stuck out to you this week?
Yeah, I thought Charlotte and Tiffany are doing great work to get themselves over. I liked Ray Phoenix against, what they're doing with the LWO, and I like Ray Phoenix on SmackDown and what he's doing to build the establishment with the luchas and the kind of the setting the seed. Is he going to be asked to join a group? Is he going to be asked to join Santos Escobar and his group?
Legado del Fantasma.
Exactly.
Hot pursuit of him.
Exactly.
But Andrade's now entered the mix.
Exactly. Andrade as well. So it's good to see the intro of reasoning why Ray Phoenix is in the mix. He had a decent match. I thought SmackDown flowed pretty well. In the middle there, it kind of got a little bit slow with Chelsea Green. Like it sucks because it kind of feels like Chelsea Green has taken a step back in her United States title run. I feel like that could have been emphasized a little bit more. The Gauntlet. The one note I put on SmackDown was I like the tag team gauntlet match. I just feel like Bayley should be bigger. Bayley should be bigger star than in a tag team match. That's fine. And then the biggest disrespect.
You know a problem I had with the gauntlet match?
What's that?
It felt like it was hodgepodge tag teams.
Yeah.
There were like a couple of tag teams maybe in the mix where you had like Katana Chance and Caitlyn Carter or whatever.
Right.
But like other than that, it was like, hey, you're a singles wrestler. You guys ain't doing nothing. Let's put you together and roll you out there.
Yeah, and the idea too is I know Randy needs a match, but I would have just replaced. Randy Orton on the card with the tag team match. Motor City Machine Guns and Street Profits could have a strong chance to have a massively great match at WrestleMania, but they're not. It's going to be on SmackDown, so I'm curious to see how it's going to play out moving forward.
All right, you ready for some news and notes this week?
Yeah, apologize for the little static in the line as we end this recording. But yes, Raw show of the week, no doubt about it. Cuz hit me with this week's professional wrestling news and notes. What made your list?
Tony Khan confirms AEW has suffered another major injury. Tony Khan confirmed that Orange Cassidy was one of the stars who was hit by the AEW injury bug during the media scrum following April 6th's Dynasty pay-per-view. Khan noted the past 2 weeks, it's no secret the company has gotten bit hard by an injury bug. The roster and locker room are really, really rallied hard. To lose wrestlers like Orange Cassidy and then Jay White back-to-back weeks, those are two of the top stars in the company, and we would have loved to have had both of them here tonight, and everybody stepped up. There was a report that noted an earlier indication from those within AEW that it was potentially a torn pectoral muscle injury that Cassidy suffered. So if that sideline for some time, we will work to try to get a little bit more clarification on what that actual injury is. But early results show that it might be a pec muscle. We have an updated possible timeline for Kevin Owens' recovery from the man himself. Speaking on My Mom's Basement with Robbie Fox, KO knows people who have gone through similar issues, and they were out of action from anywhere from 6 months to a year, noting that he'll have a better idea about his personal recovery schedule after speaking with surgeons this past Monday. Owens said, I know I'll come back, or at the very least, I really hope I come back. I guess I never take anything for granted in what we do. So, who knows? It's pretty likely I come back, and then maybe we could do the match with Randy Orton at WrestleMania eventually. I haven't talked to the surgeons or anything like that. I'm going to do all that on Monday. I mean, I know most of the people who have gone through similar things have probably, 6 months to 8 months to a year. So I would guess within that range, but I really don't know. Like I said, it's really, really new right now. Previous report indicated that Owens may be looking at receiving neck fusion surgery. So that's incredibly serious if that's the case. And finally, a star was injured on Dynamite this week. You kind of alluded to that earlier in the show. In the second match of the night, Swerve Strickland took on Pac of the Death Riders. During the match, Pac took an awkward bump and rolled to the outside for medical attention. Pac would get back into the ring for Swerve to end the match abruptly They went right to the finish. There had been no confirmation of the injury that Pac suffered. However, it's believed to be an ankle injury as he left the arena on Wednesday night on crutches. So don't know what that means for the Trios Championship. Don't know how serious this injury is. The one time I remember Pac getting injured in a match, it was with Chris Jericho. He ended up snapping his ankle, and Jericho seen it and basically was berating the ref to kind of call the match because the ref didn't want to count the 3. And Jericho basically got in the ref's face and like, he's hurt. Jericho did a great job of protecting Pac in that match that was in WWE. That was a while ago. I just thought it was a fantastic moment because you could see what was taking place, but the referee had no idea of what was going on. So, also, speaking of referees not knowing what's going on, before we get out of here real quick, the Ops had a match. It looked like Hook got bumped or rattled, maybe concussion, and then he threw up in the middle of the ring, and they were still allowed to complete a move on him on a chair. Did you see that?
Yeah, twice. I think multiple times they caught the camera. Yeah, no, it caught the attention of the IWC. It's disappointing. I do think that the next step for AEW is also pay attention to the health of the wrestlers, step it up to top notch.
I just don't get it, man. Like, a lot of these refs, man, they are trained. They have a ton of training, yet you see stuff like this all the time in AEW. It's freaking crazy.
It is crazy. It's wrong, and they got to step it up. Just on a side note, if you check out Dark Side of the Ring with Vader, it was a great hour of wrestling talking about his work in Japan. He had his eyeball poked out. He pushed it back in Japan and was able to continue the match. Check it out. Dark Side of the Ring Season 6 has been really good. Really fascinating look at how wrestlers in their careers sometimes take a turn, but Big Van Vader's and was just amazing, and to see his career and what he was able to do. But one of those deals where the toughness is one thing, but it's 2025. Like, we're past that tough man, brute force mentality. Like, we want to see these guys perform more than we care about their toughness. If you get concussed, someone has to recognize it sooner rather than later and keep it moving. But yeah, it's one of those deals where it's not to the standard where we think it should be with the health and safety of the AEW wrestlers.
Yeah, absolutely crazy. I thought it was absolutely nuts to watch what was happening, and I was just like, holy cow. And then, like you said, you go online and you kind of see them slow it down a little bit. And you're like, how is this not? Like, at the time, you were like, that should have been called. What the hell's going on? And then you see it again in slow-mo. You're just like, what are these guys doing, man? It's not good. Like, guys are gonna get seriously hurt in the ring, man.
Exactly. Make sure you follow Adam on Twitter at AdamRSTROZ. Follow the network at Detroit Podcast. Thank you so much for your support. We love the fact that you love to banter. It's WrestleMania week now. It's going to be crazy. All the WWE stars are going to be in Vegas. And also too, I checked out, great review. We'll maybe intro it with the 2 minutes. The behind the scenes look, if you have Peacock, of WrestleMania 9, worth the hour and 50 minutes. Behind the scenes footage. You get to see wrestlers in a light that you never saw, and you get to see the actual creation of a WrestleMania. And to see a storyline shift talked about was amazing. It was so worth it. I watched it after SmackDown, stayed up late on a Friday. It hooked me when I saw people talking about it. It was amazing to see how WrestleMania 9 got put together, how the card got switched up, and how the business side also took over. And you get a chance to see, really, when the Caesars executives go, hey, can we get Hulk Hogan on this situation? And they're like, well, we want to move in a different direction. And then they look at the numbers, and they're like, well, Brett and Yokozuna are not moving tickets. They advertised Hulk Hogan, who had been away for a year, and all of a sudden tickets were sold. And so you can see the business side of a company at that point in time. It was so fascinating. It was a great hour and 50 minutes. I recommend everybody check it out. Thanks, everybody, for liking and subscribing. Definitely check us out on your walks, working out. Get those earbuds pumping with Detroit Sports Podcast and the Doc and Jock Wrestling Podcast. Can't wait to fire it up. Next week, it's all about WrestleMania. 2 big nights, and we're going to preview it all on Saturday. Look for it next week, next Saturday, on the next episode of the Doc and Jock Wrestling Podcast.